My master and I stand in an impossible place, in an impossible situation. As always, we have been called in by the local authorities. The Arbites, unable to fathom what may have happened. So we are called in. Because, of course, if the best minds in the constabulary on a very advanced world cannot find a solution, then it is highly likely there is something altogether more horrible afoot. For no other reason would they call in inquisitors. 9 times out of 10, we are summoned to a vague rumour, or a mad woman who is just stiffened enough to make the rest of her neighbours fearful. This time it is what I call legitimate, an impossible assassination, an impossible kill. We stand in an oubliette, a holding cell in one of the most powerful families of this world. They had someone incarcerated that they considered so important, the information that they had either so sensitive or so dangerous, that they were surrounded by 10 foot of ceramite and plasteel, down a corridor of the same material, one way in, one way out. So we stand in said room, said oubliette, a fancy name for a dungeon after all. My master walks around the body, the large pool of blood around it. He takes in every detail slowly and meticulously. I circled the body counterclockwise to my master's clockwise. In this way, we should not miss a thing, even in shadow, even in error. But there is little to discern here. It is obvious. It is just impossible. All right then, let's go through this again, boy. Initial findings. The victim is dead. Time of death is exactly midnight on this world. He has suffered some form of extreme trauma or trauma-like effect. Vertebrae and all other bones are shattered. Teeth enamel has exploded while within his mouth. Eyes have popped. He is in a cell in a maximum hot security holding centre, with no way in or out that he could discern. Footage states he had no visitors and no way to smuggle in weaponry. Full body search and biological scan showed no sign of concealed internal weaponry, explosives or poisons. Walls of the holding cell are ceramite with plasteel fixings and entry hinges. Thank you, boy. Now, draw up a full schematic for this building. I need to see every room or opening within 100 meters, irrespective of line of sight or intervening, well, anything really. Cogitating. We have 3 options, Master, each within 100 meters. 2 heavily patrolled. The third is a sub-sewer intersection point. Well, I hope you brought your boots, boy. He grins from ear to ear as he says this. Wading again. Why does so much of our vocation involve wading through dross? So we explored the area. A huge boot print and some of the brickwork had fallen in around the roof of the intersection. Quite a bit, actually, and very recently. I thought so. So you're thinking what I'm thinking? Indulge me. No entry point. Mean the attack that slew their victim went through all of the intervening walls. Slaneshi blaster. At the minimum. Potentially a noise marine. Got it in 1. And the blueprint says the latter, unless our assassin is trying to throw us off the scent. But the scent is now ours to use. Get Ursula down here, and make sure the rest are ready and on their way. We don't have any, assistance today, and taking down a marine, any marine, is going to be a task. Turn, Falcus, even Barbon, especially Barbon. Get the whole gang down here. Within 3 hours, we are waiting again. It has been straightforward thus far. Unusual, but not unheard of. Strange to say, my master is actually very good at what he does. And what he does is destroy evil. Ursula, our sanctioned psyker, took up the scent. She led us down and round, up and over, through, and then eventually here. Terran and Falcus are silent as always, stern and endlessly surveying our surroundings. Then again, never seen anything get past the twins. Barbon, all 8 foot of him, stands stock still and it is also silent. But there is an emanating wave of quiet threat from his huge form. He is one of the Astartes himself, an angel of death. He is on a duty of honor to protect and serve my master until the end of his days. But then, Barbon is over 150 years old already, Unless we are incredibly careful and amazingly lucky, Barbon will outlive all of us anyway, returning to his chapter when my master finally makes a mistake. We wait around the back of a small building. Its private walls rear high in the air, its gates strong. Another palace of one of the other noble houses of this world, but a small one. The names all blend after a while. The great or mighty or wondrous house of this, the superb house of that. Ugh. I know I'll remember their names until my dying day, as I forget nothing, as my master has taught me, as my augmentations have eased. But I fail to show interest at this point. We are simply here. Round the front, a large-scale invasion force of Arbites have been arranged. They have heavy APCs and are ready to take the entire building, but it will take some fighting. This particular lord has been in virtual rebellion for a decade, but he kept quiet. He kept himself to himself, running his quarter of the hive in the normal way. The assassin forced all to acknowledge the veracity of the bold claims made by the captive. A foolish act, if you ask me, as the victim had claimed that the house was preparing for a coup. The Arbites will roll in the front way. We will go to repay the favour by creeping through the sewers and coming up that way. We schlep through effluent as the world becomes fire and thunder above us. My master is swift and sets the pace, but allows Barbon to take the head as soon as we get to the entryway. He takes multiple steps at speed, then crashes straight through the steel door, his power armor not even scratched. He walks in front of us, his bolter singing out and people exploding into plumes of blood and guts wherever he points it. When we reach open areas, the twins cover the vantage points, their las pistols burning neat holes through the foreheads of all who appear. And there are not too many. As we pass one of the security rooms, I see screens showing the carnage being meted out to the Arbites out front. Waves of sound slamming through the walls at the front of the building, leaving them intact, but then crushing and exploding anyone they strike. APCs have blood trickling out of open windows, all of them shattered. So many Arbites have been killed. The brave souls. As we finally make it to the door, my master orders Barbon to go through it as usual. But this time, he's to roll to the side, and we will not follow him immediately. If that is another Astartes, then we are dead if we do so. We are spread out down the corridor, in case he gets a drop on us and fires straight through the walls. Barbon runs at the door. And here, gentle listener, is where we forge the narrative. You get to decide what happens next, and as always, we have 3 options. The first option: November Mike, NM, equals Noise Marine. A single Noise Marine is inside, and the Inquisitor's party will detain or dispatch him, if they can, but the chances of success are high. MNM, Mike, November, Mike, many Noise Marines. A cadre of Noise Marines are inside, and things may get very difficult for Thaddeus, his charge, and all of his entourage. Dicey, but possible. And then thirdly, TRP, Trap. All of this was a setup to get Thaddeus and his coterie into one place to wipe them out. But who has set the trap? The nastiest result for Thaddeus and Boy and all of their friends. It is unlikely that they would survive this situation. You decide. NM, November Mike, for Noise Marine. MNM, Many Noise Marines. Or TRP, Tango Romeo Papa, for Trap. Please put your votes in the comments section, and then leave a line or gap between that and any other comment you may wish to make, so it is easier for me to then collate the details later. Welcome, gentle listeners. I am Voldemort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces and factions of the Warhammer 40k universe. Today, we shall be briefly exploring the degenerate horrors that are the Noise Marines. For the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Noise Marines. The origin of the Noise Marines goes back to the days and nights when Fulgrim and the Emperor's children first heeded the silky whispers of Slaanesh. just before the outbreak of the Horus heresy. Claiming inspiration from the tribesmen of Davin, Horus introduced Fulgrim and his chief lieutenants to the practice of elaborate feasting and drinking, including the use of exotic narcotics and indulgence in other pleasurable diversions. Entranced by the ecstatic celebrations, the officers of the Emperor's children took these debased customs back to the rest of their warriors. In this way, the cult of Slanesh took root in the Legion. Ever since then, the Emperor's children have sought to indulge every excess and depravity they can imagine, pushing the boundaries of their minds as far as they can as they hone their bodies to the limit of blissful endurance. As just one example of the rewards granted by the Prince of Pleasure to those who worship him, a Noise Marine's hearing is 1,000 times more sensitive than normal. They can distinguish the slightest pitch in tone and volume, but are only able to enjoy the most deafening of cacophonies. Such raucous sensory input electrifies the Noise Marine's brain, causing extreme emotional stimulation that makes all other sensations seem pale and worthless. The louder and more discordant the noise, the more extremely emotional reaction provoked. Only the din of battle and screams of the dying can truly stir a Noise Marine's attention for long. On the battlefield, his mind ceases to function normally, and instead becomes a mere receptacle for the sensations ignited by the music of the apocalypse. Thrilling to hear the shrieks of the wounded as they dance upon the path of destruction. Regardless of faction, Noise Marines wear armor painted in various bold colors, as their senses are so distorted that only the most extravagant shades and patterns register to their minds. Though the staccato bark and blast of the bolt gun is music to the Noise Marines' ears, many specialize in the use of a variety of outlandish sound-based weapons. The most common of these is the sonic blaster. The champions of these twisted hedonists instead use the Blastmaster and the Doom Siren, each of which produces a series of deafeningly loud attacks that disintegrate the target with extreme frequency psychosonic waves. The weapons of the Noise Marines are surreal indeed, so peculiar that their energies can blast through solid walls without losing potency. They are not fired by the twitch of a trigger so much as played like hellish musical instruments, their bursts of psychically resonating noise sliding, thumping and screeching across a dizzying spectrum of sound. By holding his ground, a Noise Marine can coax a deeper, more sustained frequency, or a discordant wail that can literally shake its targets apart. Alternatively, should the wielder be overcome with the need to taste the deathly results of his sonic barrages firsthand, he can let fly a wave of crippling harmonics even as he strides towards his victims. These salvos of killing noise hammer the enemy with explosive crescendos that can burst eyeballs and rupture internal organs, no matter how well protected the target. The Sonic Blaster. The Sonic Blaster is a Chaos Space Marine sonic weapon used by the Noise Marines. It unleashes waves of crippling and distorted harmonics to rip targets apart. Many Noise Marines equipped with such weapons use them with manic intensity. They run up and down through the various chords and sliding scales, so that these devices perpetually howl with a mixture of agony and ecstasy. The Doom Siren. The Doom Siren is a Chaos Space Marine sonic weapon used by Noise Marines. The device is made up primarily of an arrangement of pipes and tubes that connects to a power armor helmet, and magnifies the bearer's war cries and howls of ecstatic pleasure into a manic shockwave of destruction. The Doom Siren mounts onto the bearer's shoulders, leaving both of the bearer's hands free to carry other weapons or perform other tasks. Blastmaster. The Blastmaster is a Chaos Space Marine sonic weapon used by the Noise Marines. It provides a throbbing bass note which is strong enough to burst eyeballs and rupture organs. At different frequencies, the weapon can produce different effects, either harming individuals with a varying frequency, or destroying an entire area with a single pulsing frequency. End quote. In the grim darkness of the future, there is only rock, a playful unit that seems to be a holdover from the period where mirth was an integral part of the entire setting, but people do not think about them as anything more than an almost orc-like comedy relief. A science of the Emperor's children, their pink armor and guitar look make them seem jovial. A fun thing amongst the ranks of the Chaos Lords, and as Emperor's children they are passed off as being on a quest for the very best of the devil's tunes, as one might say. Classic Warhammer fun, no? Well, recently they have been updated and the guitars have been taken away, and there was that one figure that was released, but generally they look slightly more alien now, and less 80s, shall we say. But yes, this picture could not be further from the actual truth. The Noise Marines are horrors to confront, to face on the battlefield, but more than this, their entire existences are as pitiful and pathetic as the worst addict. For as we have heard, they have their senses augmented to levels that would oversaturate and probably shut down any normal mortal mind. Alas, they were begun in the Emperor's children, and ever were they some of the most perverse and extreme of all of the forces of the traitor legions. So every second that they are listening to things that are not new, not more overpowering than before, not more scintillating, they are living a shadow existence, where everything is expanded and augmented, yet remains more tedious to them than a decade of looking at the same wall would be to a standard human. As always, much is made of the benefit of chaos, whereas there are actually none. For the nadirs, the lows, are far more regular, frequent and cavernous than any of the fleeting highs may offset. To be a Chaos Space Marine is to live in a never-ending misery, briefly populated with barely noticeable seconds of elation. It is why they are so vicious. Boredom. But we will explore this more in the future. Although Noise Marines can come from any legion, any traitor warband or fallen chapter who pledge themselves to She Who Thirsts, the Prince of Pleasure, Slaanesh, Noise Marines stride the battlefield crushing all resistance, as no barbed wire, barbican or bunker can protect those who are targeted by their blasters. Eyes will burst, teeth explode, vertebrae shatter, all impossible to block or evade. The only way to stop a Noise Marine, no matter what your protection may be, is to kill him before he kills you. Nor are they slouches in this department either. They are either traitor Astartes, having fallen to the worship of the ruinous powers while being loyalist Space Marines, or are actually the same Astartes that ran amok on Terra when the siege of the Holy Palace was being enacted during the end of the Horus Heresy. Either way, they are deadly combatants, with no ability to evade them, due to their keen hearing that might pick out a heartbeat 20 feet below them in the midst of a battle. No ability to shield from them, as their blasts are not just sound waves, they are not. All throughout it is stated that they are psychosonic, meaning that the waves of sound are infused or at the very least augmented or altered by the powers of the warp. These deadly warriors can destroy, or at the very least affect, anything with a human or organic element. Nothing, fully short of a void shield, can stop the cacophonies of the Noise Marines. They are deadly, and their appearance on any battlefield or theatre of war will mark the intensification of the conflict many times over. For without defences, without any way to resist, any opposing force has no option but to shoot and cut and bomb its way to the centre of the Chaos Army and attempt to neutralise these units before they get into range. I have been Voldemort, your faithful servant. I hope you've enjoyed this brief introduction to the Noise Marines. For those with more than a passing knowledge of these monsters, then you may have questioned my omission of their origin. All I can say is that it will be covered in the upcoming entry on the Emperor's Children, and would request your patience. If you have enjoyed it, then please do consider liking and subscribing. If you are a regular gentle listener and see the worth in what we are doing, then do please consider supporting us on Patreon. Link in the comments. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.